Hello and welcome to this evening's Focus. Our question today, is anti-Muslim sentiment on the rise in the United States? A series of recent controversies have emotions running high. The angry debate continues over the construction of a mosque near Ground Zero in that neighborhood in New York. A Florida pastor is considering burning the Quran, Islam's holy book, on the anniversary of September 11th. That's on Saturday. And in the wake of these major stories, smaller incidents are also breaking out. Acts of violence, vandalism, and threats to mosques. There was also suspected arson at a construction site for one mosque in Tennessee. Our correspondent Nathan King went to that site in the small community of Murfreesboro. He joins us now by phone to tell us more. Nathan, thanks for being with us. What's the prevailing sentiment you get from the Muslim community in the U.S., but also specifically in Murfreesboro, where you traveled? Is it fear? Is it worry on the part of these Muslims?
I think it's a little bit of confusion at the moment because, you know, in a lot of small towns in America, you have seen Muslim Americans move in without any question, develop careers and families. We're talking doctors, dentists, very middle-class families, and really seep into the fabric of U.S. life. It's only really been recently, and we're talking about the last few months, that there have been objections to mosques being built, or in this case, a larger mosque and a community center being built. It's going to be a big one in Murfreesboro. But you know, not many people have opposed churches or synagogues when similar plans happen. And it really has been a result of the discussion about the Ground Zero Mosque, as it's being called, which, of course, is an Islamic cultural center with a mosque inside of it. And it really has gone national. So the Muslim community have been a little bit slow to react, if you like, a little bit caught on the hop, and are a little increasingly scared, more so than perhaps even in the days after 9/11 9 years ago.
And Nathan, what is really the trigger for this hatred or this intolerance that Muslims have been facing over the past months?
Well, I mentioned the Ground Zero Mosque, but also there are other things. Remember, 9 years ago, the towers here in New York came down because of radical Islamists from overseas. We're talking Saudi Arabia. We're talking Pakistan. Increasingly, terrorist attacks and terrorist suspects are arrested here in the United States who are citizens or have been born here. And this has created a little bit of a climate of who the terrorists next door, if you like. Now, it doesn't necessarily just mean people of Middle Eastern descent or South Asia. Remember the housewife from Pennsylvania who was blonde and blue-eyed. So there's this feeling perhaps that terrorism isn't over there like Iraq and Afghanistan, as Bush administration said, but also here as well. And that may have fed into the zeitgeist coupled with the mosque. And we're seeing some quite alarming figures in terms of distrust of Muslims, definitely on the rise.
Thanks very much for that, Nathan King in New York. And now let's take a look at the report you put together for us. Our correspondent traveled to Murfreesboro, Tennessee, a town with a small Muslim community. Their plan to build a mosque is not to their neighbors' liking. Many locals oppose the project. Take a look.
In 18 years, you can pile up a lot of stuff in an office.
I mean, this is a messy office, but this is what probably all engineers would like.
30 years in total in Tennessee. Saleh Sebanati hasn't seen his native Syria for a long time.
You know, we have been in this community for over 30 years, and we have really wonderful relationship with everybody, and we did not have any problem whatsoever.
But recently things have changed, and the small Muslim community in Murfreesboro discovered it has enemies. Lima, Saleh's daughter, is startled.
I'm from here, you know, I was born here, I've lived my entire life here, I'm from here. It's really hard to argue that point to people who think that this religion was, or this country was based on the religion of Christianity.
At the mosque, the Friday prayer has started. Every Friday, the room is packed. Way too small. And that's what sparked the controversy here. Plans to build a new, bigger mosque. Opponents have voiced their opposition, preaching the Imam can't ignore the debate.
I believe those people opposing this project, they do not understand the consequence of what they are doing. They are damaging the kids.
This piece of property is the focus of the opposition. A planned mosque will be built here, and it was on this construction site The people came out at night and set fire to a bulldozer.
We never anticipated that they will go that far. I mean, we understand that somebody can be desperate to want to do something, but we did not think that they are looking at it this way to that extent.
On this afternoon, the FBI and the local sheriff hold a press conference on the site. They're announcing to the local media a $20,000 reward to anyone who will give information on the arson.
Somebody here in Rutherford County knows what happened here, and so we're just asking someone to come forward.
But opposition continues. Kevin Fisher organised an anti-mosque rally back in July. And while he condemns any violence, he still opposes its construction.
They're a Sunni-based group. Sunnis are responsible for 80% of the attacks against American forces.
On the city plaza stands an old Bible. For Kevin, a symbol of Murfreesborough's identity.
Our community was based on this.
And Kevin insists he has nothing against Islam. He just doesn't see the need for a bigger mosque in this city.
And joining me now on set for more, Mohammed Ali Adrawi, lecturer and researcher at Sciences Po here in Paris and Middle East specialist. Good evening.
Good evening.
We heard our correspondent earlier saying one of the triggers for these acts of hatred or vandalism was these big national stories we're hearing about, the ground zero mosque, so to speak, that threat, that pastor who wants to burn the Quran. Are these big stories sort of triggering smaller acts of violence on the local scale, do you think?
Well, in my view, it's possible. It's possible because people are afraid, and when they get afraid, they don't know how to act, and they look for scapegoats, and they look for representatives of the people who represent Islam. And so, for example, they see their neighbors in Tennessee, for example, and they act as anti-Muslims. So it's possible.
Do you think the media plays a role in this, in that case?
Absolutely, but there is another point. You have to distinguish between several Islamophobias. You have intellectual Islamophobia, political Islamophobia, for example, coming from the Republican Party, cultural Islamophobia coming from average Americans, and the religious Islamophobia, for example, Terry Jones in Gainesville, Florida. So it's possible, and media have a big role to play, yes, absolutely.
So several forms of Islamophobia. Do you believe it's becoming more acceptable, so to speak, more banal perhaps, to be anti-Muslim in the United States? Is that really becoming mainstream?
It's a big deal to say it's a mainstream opinion today, but we have to admit that Islamophobia is getting stronger because of the international context, because America is facing terrorist attacks for years, and for example, in Tennessee, for example, so many people, many dangers. So it's possible. So the danger is today to behave with the American Muslims as with terrorists. So that's a danger.
And one last quick question. Barack Obama has reached out to the Muslim community. He did over a year ago in his Cairo speech. He did again today by asking for tolerance and respect. Do you think that will help in any way?
Well, it could, but Obama's politics is a long-term policy. So, and the problem is that we have to face is the short-term problems. So Obama is kind of political genius. So in the long term, he's right, but he has to deal with short-term problems, and so that's a big deal. And it's all about climate, and it's all about fear. So.
And these are the small incidents that have been breaking out there. Thanks very much for your analysis. Mohammed Ali Adrawi, lecturer and researcher at Sciences Po here in Paris, Middle East specialist. That was this evening's focus. Thank you for watching, and do stay tuned. A new bulletin is coming up shortly on France 24.